All right, hello there, and welcome to your first video homework. So you have a quick quiz tomorrow. The three important vocabulary terms for tomorrow's quiz are function, domain, and range. And I'm going to remind you real quick of what each of those means. Throughout the video, I have some questions, so when you get to a question screen, feel free to pause the video while you take your time answering the questions. Please answer your questions on a separate sheet of paper, just a blank piece of notebook paper that you might have in your binder. So a function has one output for every input. So each input has to have its own output. That was what we were talking about when we were talking about cheating, right? Each input needs to have its own output. If an input has two outputs, it's cheating and isn't considered a function. So remember we played function or nah in class. So right here I have a table, that's a relation, but I want to determine, is this relation going to function or not? So I look at my input column. My input column is the column with the x values. And I look to see, do any of my inputs get repeated? So I notice that 4 is repeated twice. And so I look to see, is 4 cheating? And the answer is yes. 4 is dating 10 and dating 6, so this is not a function. This relation will not function because one input, 4, has two different outputs. Which brings us to question number 1. I want you to come up with your own table that would represent a function, a table where no input is cheating. So please right now pause the video and come up with a table that represents a function. So you might remember what we called the vertical line test. Vertical line test. The vertical line test helped us look at a function, or at a graph rather, and determine if it's a function or not. So if you look at this graph, I can draw a vertical line through it and touch the graph at 2 places. What that means is if I were to make a table, an x and y table, 2, my value for x, would have an output of 2, but would also have an output of -4, right? Those 2 points are the points 2, 2 and 2, -4. Right away you can see 2's cheating. So this is nah. It is not going to function because 2 has 2 different outputs. Question number 2. Take a look at this graph and tell me, is it a function or not? It might help if you, kind of with your finger on the screen, draw vertical lines and see if it touches at more than one spot. If it touches at more than one spot, it's not a function. If it doesn't touch more than one spot, it is a function. So in this problem, we are looking to fill in the table for the missing values of y. So to do that, we're going to replace x in the equation with the x that's given in the table. So this is going to become y equals 4 times -2 plus 2, which if you do out the math, that gives you -8 plus 2, which tells me that when x is -2, y is -6. I'm going to repeat this process for all of my values of x. So I'm going to plug in 0 for x to get that y will equal 2 when you plug in 0 for x. When you plug in 1 for x, when you replace x with 1, you get 4 times 1 plus 2, which is equal to 6. And I'm going to repeat that process for 4 and 5 as well. So 4 is going to give me 18, and 5 is going to give me 22. If you remember, domain is the set of x values, or the set of input values. So domain are the set of x values. So my x values are -2, 0, 1, 4, and 5. My range is the set of y values. So it's going to be -6, 2, 6, 18, and 22. The way I kind of remember that is domain has the word in within it. So input and domain go together. I don't really have a fun way to remember range. It's just that it's not domain, not input. So please, at this time, pause the video and fill in the table for the missing values of y. You should use -1, 2, 3, 5, and 8 as your x values for your function. Question number 4 asks you to fill in the missing representations. So use your graph to fill in the table, write an equation, and create a verbal description for the function. So we've got a super awesome pun for you since you were nice enough to watch this video. And it says, I'm learning a new language at school. That reminds me, I have to finish my homework. Finish, because Finnish is a language. Huh, pretty funny. All right, have a great day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.